Hey everyone, Reaper here again. I'm starting a new series when it centered around really great games to purchase. Now, for those of you out there that also dabble in video games, I'm sure a lot of us do, or a lot of you do. These are just videos designed to talk about a video game series or a couple of games in specific genres that I think you can really get into, enjoy. Some of them will be modern games, and some of them will be retro games. So we'll start off. This one's focused on some RPGs, two RPGs that I think are excellent to play. I have a modern one and I have a retro one. The retro one, not everyone's going to have access to, but you never know what the future can hold. So let's start off with talking about this Octopath Traveler. This was a game that came out over a year ago for the Nintendo Switch, and it is an RPG, a classic Japanese turn-based RPG. Now, it was made by Square Enix, the same people that make the Final Fantasy series and so many other classic RPGs, Dragon Quest, and so forth. So basically, what this game is Octopath, which Octo means eight, eight characters in this game. You get to choose your main character, and then you encounter the seven others throughout your travels, and you get involved in their storylines, and it all merges together almost like in a Marvel Cinematic Universe sort of way. And that's basically what the game is. Now, the game, the art style, and I'm going to show you at the end of the video clips from these games. The art style is designed. It looks retro with a modern brush, paint. It looks retro with a modern touch to it. It's in 2D, but it captured perfectly what a retro game would look like, but if you threw like a coat of paint on it for the modern era. I mean, some games today, I know a lot of games are trying to go retro, and they go real retro by making the games, look as if they came out in the late 80s. For me, I don't like that as much. I think I don't think that really captures retro for me as much as this title has when it comes to the aesthetic. You could tell by looking at it, Square Enix was going for like a Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI type look, but with graphical enhancements of today, which blended wonderfully. That created that retro look, but it also had that modern edge to just make you look at the visuals in awe. So aesthetically, this game is absolutely beautiful, and each one of the characters come from different regions of the world. Some come from uh, grasslands, some come from mountainous regions, some come from oceanic regions, and my favorite, to come from the ice regions with tons of snow, and you see the snow on the ground glittering. It's just such a beautiful game to look at. Just stare at it. It's definitely a great game to pick up. It is a traditional turn-based RPG. What does that mean? It's basically your characters get into battle with the enemy, and you choose what you want to do. You want to attack, you want to defend, you want to use an item, you want to run away, all that stuff. So anyway, if you don't run away, you choose your attacks or your actions rather, and then the enemy goes. And then you go, and then the enemy goes. So it's turn-based like that. Today, it seems like there are not too many of those around. I mean, modern RPGs, they put a little bit of a spin on it to make it more modern. It's not necessarily, you don't find too many of the traditional turn-based games today. So seeing that in this classic, this love letter to retro RPGs of the Super Nintendo era, to see that added all into one package made this release a fantastic game to play. The play control is excellent. The story's pretty good. I mean, the story's decent. It's nothing that's gonna, it's nothing of epic proportions, but it's something that you play it and you just can't wait to continue to play it over and over again. My only complaint with it is the same complaints I would have with any of those old retro turn-based RPG games. You have, sometimes in order to progress throughout a level, you really have to do a lot of grinding. You really have to get your level up, and sometimes that takes a long time. But it's not that bad. So I would definitely recommend Octopath Traveler. Now, I know you're not seeing all this footage while I'm talking about it, just seeing the game, and I know there are plenty of other channels out there that show footage as they talk and so forth. Remember, this is not a gaming channel. It's just, a comic book guy that just happens to like games and has a good collection. So we're going to move along to the next title. Panzer Dragoon Saga. This is a retro game that came out for the Sega Saturn in 1998. Now, like I said earlier in the video, this is not a game that most people have or are willing to spend the money on. It is a very rare game. It's very expensive. But the reason why I'm showing it is because it is truly a terrific game. It is a game that was forgotten about because at the time when this game came out, Sega Saturn was dead, or at least it was dying. It wasn't even on life support. They knew it was dying. Sega knew it was dying, and this was one of the last releases in 1998 for the system. And a year earlier or 8 months earlier, I don't remember exactly when in 98 this came out, Final Fantasy VII came on the scene and pretty much put PlayStation at the top. And once that happened, RPG after RPG was coming out for that system, and it really left Saturn out in the dust. And from what I gathered on this title, that the production of it took a very long time to do. And I think even some of the people on the production team, I don't know who, and I don't know what department, even committed suicide. So it has a little bit of a dark history to it. But the finished product, what we see here, turned out to be an excellent game. The first two in the series, Panzer Dragoon and Panzer Dragoon Zwei, were run and gun games. You're on top of the dragon and you're just shooting at different obstacles to progress to the main boss and to finish the level. It was very linear. It was a lot of fun. The music, the graphics at the time, this was just fantastic. So when they went to the developers that decided to do Saga, it was completely different. I mean, you still had the Dragoon, but this time you're in an RPG-like environment where you engage in enemies in the sky or on land, and you have turn-based attacks. The enemy attacks you, you attack the enemy. You can fly using your Dragoon to different spots of the enemy, from the side, from atop, from behind, from underneath, to find a weak spot, which was pretty cool because, hey, you're flying a dragon, right? You have that mobility. And it added variety to this. So it was definitely, when it came out, I know it was very well received, but it didn't get the recognition it should have. And it has a very low print run because the fact that Saturn was dying. Now, I don't know, because you never know. Sega is supposedly is going to be releasing a retro system, or might have plans on releasing Saturn games on other systems like the Switch or whatever. I don't know exactly. You never know. You might see Panzer Dragoon emulated. But I mean, I don't know if maybe. I've heard stories that the original data for Panzer Dragoon is lost, so emulation might be impossible. But don't take my word for it. You just never know what people can do. But if it does come out in some capacity as a re-release or a remake, because you never know, even games like to do remakes. Resident Evil 2, right, which was great. It's definitely something to look at. Before we show you some of the footage, I'm not going to show that much footage, but let's open this thing. Let's open this sucker up. I don't see a Panzer Dragoon all the time. All right, this is a 4-disc game. Now, there are different versions. You see the sleeves here for these? Some of them have 1 black and 2 white, or some of them are all white. But for those of you that may have this title, and you say, hey, wait a minute, my sleeves are white. Well, how come yours are black? They released them that way. This also comes with a little World of Sega Games pamphlet. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed this new series. I know it's nothing spectacular. It's just me talking about a couple of games. And I'll show you some footage from some of these for these games at the end of the videos. So I hope you tune in for the next episode. And thank you for watching.
Protect us!
Victory shall...
I am ready. Let's do this! I will not be defeated! I am ready.
Have at you.
I will not be defeated. It's my turn now. I am ready.
With each battle, I grow stronger.
No need to get all flustered. There's no shame in not knowing an answer, so long as you have a desire to learn. The answer is in your textbook. Go on now, look it up.
Yes, Professor.